Hi, everybody, and welcome to Cope with Hope. Today, I have Annie with me, who's going to talk to us about social media and how to build your platform. According to me, she's an expert. For 10 years now, she's been working with social media. She was with a niche publisher like Condé Nast, and then she was with this young, hip millennial, Scoop Whoop. Though she was on the marketing side, she was privy to the way they built their brands and also how they maintained their social media. So she's been helping me a lot with Cope with Hope. And thank you so much, Annie, for coming on board and doing this for us.
Thank you, Nandini. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. So you've divided this her presentation into three. The first is start, scale, and shine, right?
Yes.
So will you start with start?
Yeah. I just want to give one background. I think my experience was solidified because of the brands that I worked with, or with the publishers that I worked with. And as a business development person, you are as good as the platform, and the platform is as good as the editorial.
Yes.
And I think that's where my respect for content, respect for getting editorial right really came about, because these were two excellent brands who did fantastic work in their editorial department, which then gave people like me the opportunity to take it to the market and build solutions on it.
So this is Condé Nast and Scoop Whoop.
And Scoop Whoop. Yeah. And so because of my interactions with the team there and understanding the product, I understood how they were getting their digital content right. And I thought it's interesting to just share this in a not so intimidating way. It's really simple stuff that everybody can learn and implement at their own level. Of course, when it comes to social media, everybody starts to get a little bit nervous thinking it's very technical or it's very complex. The basics are the same for everyone. So we can always get it started, and when we feel we need a professional help, you can seek that. But what is it that you can do from the confines of your house, of your home? That's one of the things I wanted to just address.
Yeah.
So when I look at if someone comes to me or says, listen, I want to do something on social, I want to get my social presence out there, but I just don't know what to do. There are very simple ways to just declutter in your own mind, or to just bulletize in your own mind. There are three. I've put it together in three simple steps. The first step is to start. Get your basics right. From there on, we'll move to the second step, which I've called as scale, where you just build your content more and more, which helps you build the community. And therefore, it ties to the third step, which is shine, that is growing your community. As we go along, we'll see all of them sort of interlink with each other. It's not just a linear growth, it sort of happens in parallel. But this is just some ways to just get started, you know. So when I think about, when we look at, okay, I don't know what to do. How do I start? What do I do?
Yeah.
So I would ask myself three questions. What is the purpose of what I'm trying to achieve? Or what is my objective? Why am I doing this? Is this because I'm a chef and I want to get my food presence or food expertise out there? Am I a health instructor or a fitness instructor? Or am I someone who, like yourself, is there to have a conversation with different people, because that's your forte. So identifying the purpose of what you want to do really helps you filter what platforms are most relevant to you. I would assume, or I would expect someone to be present on all platforms that we talk about, which is namely Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, perhaps Pinterest, and any other new age media that keeps propping up as we go along. But what is your mainstay is defined by what your purpose, or what your what's the nature of communication.
Okay.
Why is that important? Because every platform has an audience behavior, has certain demographics tied to it. You will already know Instagram is a very hip millennial youngster platform. I don't know if there are 18-year-olds who have a Facebook account today. So, but I'm more of a Facebook person myself, because I'm sort of, I didn't jump on Instagram as much, but it's important to know which platforms are important to you, because you would automatically be tied to a certain audience behavior, a certain certain audience demographic, if you call it, and certain ways in which people or audience on this platform consumes content. You would know in Instagram, for example, you have 1 minute videos on the timeline, right? But there is no and of course on IGTV you have the longer version, but on YouTube you don't have any restriction like that. You can put any length of video there. Yeah. Right? That's because people are more accustomed to consuming short format content on one platform versus long format content on another. So that basic understanding just helps you prioritize your platform and help you build your content calendar, which we discuss a little later. And the third thing I would ask myself is, what is my voice and what is my tone? Who am I? Am I talking as an expert, or am I talking as your friend? Do I have a very authoritative advocacy based language, or in my, like the way I speak and I come across, or am I very quirky and fun and, you know, your girl, not girl next door, but just more like your somebody that you can easily approach to advise? So that helps you in your language, in editing, in the way you write your copy, in the way you speak if you are doing video content. And that really defines again your content calendar, as we'll talk about in a few minutes. So these three things would really help you. Just like, you know, if you just put it on a piece of paper and you just write this like a triangle, it gives you like a mental picture of, okay, what is my identity? What is my DNA? And what is it that I have to go back to referring to in case I feel I'm getting lost? Yes. So that would be the purpose of your brand, if you want to call it a brand. What platforms and audience is relevant to you, and what is my voice and what is my tone. Yes. Once I have a basic framework, it helps me sort of just start putting together content. So that's now we enter the scale phase. The scaling phase is basically populating your channel with content. And for that, you will have to understand a little bit more in terms of the formats of content that's available on a particular platform. Yeah. There are many websites that give you this information. There are image specifications, there are video specifications. I'll be happy to share some links if we want to share it later. Yeah. But there is enough information available as to what formats of content work on a particular platform. Yeah. But understanding that, so for example, the formats could be just a simple image post. It could be a GIF, which is like a little bit of motion of movement. It could be a short video. It could be a series of images, a series of video, whatever the platform allows for it. Once I have a basic understanding of the formats, it's recommended that we sort of put together a basic content calendar where you define. I'm assuming that people who are doing this are solo warriors. They're doing it on your own. So you have to also have an understanding of your personal capability of how much can you do in a day. If you have 2 hours in a day, then it will be silly to pressurize yourself into generating one video content every single day. Absolutely. So keeping that practicality in mind, you can just have a simple spreadsheet, Excel sheet saying this would be Monday, I'm going to do an image post, or Tuesdays, I'm going to be doing an interview. Wednesdays, I'm going to be doing inspirational quotes, and Thursdays will be throwback Thursdays of something that I've done in the past. So that understanding sort of evolves. I don't think you'll have all of it on first day, so no need to put that kind of pressure, but at least start with what you can do in that moment. and that itself really pushes you. You know, that inertia, that little bit of tingling we have. Can I do it? Can I do it? Can I not do it? Just do it. Do what you know in that moment. And if it's not working, or if you think it's really not happening, change it. But getting that first post or the first few posts out there really opens it up for you internally, so that you can be more courageous in sort of putting everything else together.
Yes.
And putting it on a spreadsheet again removes the stress that we have in our head, because it happens to me. If I'm thinking of a project and I'm all stressed because everything is sort of, messed up in the head. So if you just put it down, if you don't like spreadsheets, write in a piece of, or write it in a paper in your journal. That also works.
I
So
had it
it
on my
helps you
phone.
Monday. You had it on your phone.
Every time I talk to you or talk to my son Sahil, who also helped me, but Annie and me would have sessions once a week, I would just write the notes on my phone and try my best to follow it.
Sweet.
It didn't always go
Yeah,
exactly like that.
yeah. No, it's something you learn as you go along. This is not laid in stone. It's just out of experience as to what I feel has worked, and I've seen my editorial team work on things like this. Because there would be different collaborators, so they would have a spreadsheet that different people can access and add their points. But here it's just you, so you decide what's best for you. But having an idea of what is my schedule for the week, Monday through Sunday, what kind of content formats I'm capable of producing from my end, I would like to just keep that written down. Frequency is very important, because when you are trying to build a loyal audience base, the building an audience behavior or building an expectation with the audience that, okay, every Tuesday I'm going to get something new on this platform, sort of really helps you psychologically win the audience over. So your consistency in terms of what I can publish when is a good hygiene to follow. Of course, sometimes if you can't do it, you can't do it, but these would be some of the best practices, because that again, it sort of helps you maintain maybe hashtags. Maybe this whole Throwback Thursday that happened, obviously it makes sense when you post it on Thursday, doesn't make sense when you post it on Monday. So if there are or maybe it makes sense, I don't know, but I would post it on a Thursday, for example. So it just helps you organize yourself. And if you have a 10 to 12 in the morning that you want to sit and work with, at least you know what content I'm building for the week. You may decide to create all the content in one day and then push it one day of the week, or you may decide to do it on a daily basis. That's entirely up to you. The second thing that sort of leads to a small problem that, when you're scaling, you start to find, hey, there is too much content that I'm posting. How will my audience start discovering? Because I have put something, I don't know if they will see it, but it's interesting. And, how do I organically help them discover? And that's where, if you're doing part of a series, or if you're doing hashtags, if you're doing video playlists, it sort of just helps organize organize your content in such a way that somebody, when they come on your platform, they can see, okay, this is a series of Throwback Thursday. Okay, let me go check in here. This is a series of Monday motivation. If I click on that, let me get an idea of all the other posts that have happened. Because while we're scaling, of course, some people may already be regular on your platform, so they may start to watch you on a daily basis. But if there is a new recruit, somebody who's come 1 month down the line, how can they be enriched by the content that you've already put out? That's why you're keeping the media a little bit organized, a little bit clean from an Excel sheet, and therefore onto the platform. It just enriches the user experience, and that's one thing that we constantly have to keep in mind. If I was served this content, would I like to watch it? If I land on this platform, is this platform giving me an ease of navigation and ease of experiencing the posts out there? So a visual consistency, frequency consistency really goes a long way in people warming up to the platform and building a bit of a rapport with your platform.
Yes.
So that's one challenge or one growing pains of a platform. The third thing I would address is while you have your content calendar, while you have your frequency and your visual formats, everything in place, be open, be flexible to adapt your content to something that's relevant coming up in the social and cultural context.
Yes.
For example, if there's something that's trending internationally and it sort of just found its way into India, like when this whole black and white photos that we did, that came about, and you adopted it on your platform also, and that sort of, so how can I use relevant social trends that's happening on digital? How can I incorporate it into my content, or how can I be part of that conversation? Because then you make yourself more relevant to who's watching.
Yes.
So be listening, be alert, look at what's happening. Like something very simple as, when we're working with the editorial team, they were obviously tuned to the current news. If there was any tough news, if there was, some war somewhere, if there was a, plane crash somewhere, obviously they would be very careful and naturally not posting stories about 7 vacations you can take during this time, because the sentiment is not correct. So be watchful of what's happening digitally in terms of news and social culture, because that can help you or that can harm you with the content that you're posting. So that adaptability and vigilance needs to be there.
Yes.
Am I going too fast?
No.
I hope you're able to grasp.
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
Okay. So we've got our platforms, we've got an idea of how to start doing the content, and actually just wanted to add one thing there. If for anyone who's interested in just editing their own videos or editing their own images, there are many free tools available, and it's just it's easy to do it. It's not intimidating. If you put your mind to it, you can easily get a lot of these things done.
Yes, I agree. I do everything myself. I edit.
Exactly. And you've been doing so much for 3 months already.
Yeah.
So more it's possible. So don't, more than 3 months now. Yeah. And that's a lot of content. And one final thing I would add to the whole content part is try to find ways to increase the life cycle of your content on your platform. This is very relevant mainly for video pieces. If you've created long videos, like when you do your interviews, if there are 20-minute interviews, there are ways to edit it and post it with on a given day. If just Monday morning motivation, it can be one edit of that video. Or what is my weekend mantra, that could just be one portion of a video. So try to extend and stretch the longevity of your content on the platform, because it's precious. 20 minutes is a lot of content. It's not necessary that everybody has watched that 20 minutes. So how can I make it more relevant? It can even become an image post. It can just be a quote from the video that the person has used, and all of this adds to your opportunity of engagement, and also it can lead to people watching the main video, if at all. But the good hygiene is, in 2 hours, if I've created something, how can I maximize the spread of it across my platform? So that's a good intelligence to have, or good alertness to have in your in your consciousness. So if we have the basics right, we have an idea of the content. Now what do we do? So why are we doing this? We're doing this so that people can follow our page. People can come on the platform on a daily basis, get engaged, interact with you. Any viewer who's come to your platform is extremely precious, and that's one thing I learned from both the brands I worked with. They really treat their audience as precious gems, and it's important that you keep them in mind when you're writing. It's not just a one-way dialogue. They are your equity. They are the reason you're doing this. So just to keep that that richness in mind, that wow, there is someone out there who's reading what I'm saying, or who's watching what I've put up. So just keeping them in mind, it sort of helps you humanize yourself more to them. And it can be as simple as, because when you have regular content, chances are people will like and start following your pages a bit more. But you can always use that as an, you do video content, you can use this in the beginning or the end of the video, or sometimes you can just have a video post saying that, this is, I know we've created something new on the platform, and please do share and subscribe. But find soft points or soft ways in encouraging them to follow you. Nobody wants to be told, please follow me, please subscribe to me. But give them enough reason and enough value for them to want to come to your platform on a regular basis. That's one hygiene I've seen build. And when we do things consistently, people do start following because they start engaging with your platform. Another thing I've seen some brands do brilliantly is they do interact with the viewer or the audience who've perhaps sent a comment or sent a question in one of the posts. It's almost like, it's like a 2 second of fame. If somebody, the other day I wrote something on Trevor Noah's video, and that comment was highlighted by the admin on the page, and I wanted to tell like 10 people around me, oh, my comment is highlighted by Trevor Noah's page. But that's that joy that gives, because it's like, oh, someone's reading what I've said, or the brand that I love, or the person that I love and follow, they've acknowledged what I've said. And that's a very soft way of building that connection. And I've seen you do that. Just acknowledging their appreciation, acknowledging that if they have a comment, just acknowledging that. If they have a suggestion, and just building on that. Those things really help. And sometimes you can even have interesting content built from there. Like if it's supposed to be a content about, of crowdsourcing some information, you can even throw questions out there and people answer to those questions, and you use that as fodder for your content in the future. So that I call it TLC for the community. So of course you have to treat them with tender love and care, because they are the jewel, they are the equity of what you do. So keeping them, feel loved and wanted is a very warm way of building that, building that, just that connection with the user, so that they are there with you, and creating that human bridge, I think, more than anything, because corporations is corporations, but when Scoop or Condé Nast or anybody would reply to something, you would feel like, oh, that's a human being doing that. So it's a human, it's not a machine. So that would be an interesting takeaway for me. And I think what the advantage of building a community like this, I feel like, as you go along, if there are some, if there are some services, or if there are some additional things that you want to do for the engagement of your community, you can start offering that. Like if, I don't know, if you're someone who's a health fitness instructor and you've sort of created these beautiful videos of workouts, 7 ways to do things, and Monday morning, bicep motivation. If you are starting to do one-on-one coaching, you can start, once you build that community, start putting out there, hey, thank you so much for following me, but now I'm offering this, and if you're interested, do get in touch. So that's one way to sort of extend your community and start engaging with them in a much more deeper and intimate way. And I think that's the joy out of it in the end, that you are ultimately connected to your viewer, and you are making a difference. Because I don't think there is anybody in the world who says, I don't want to make a difference. So it's like, what is my contribution? How can I do that? So these would be some of the things that I learned, working in the corporate side, but sort of to implement it at a local level, not so complex. Of course, these are the basics. Once you start to really want to build a brand and have audiences coming in droves, of course you may have to invest in some promotions, in some spending on the platform, and those things are more expert driven. You can always reach out to someone who is an expert in doing that, or you can even learn and implement it on your own. But these are just to stop, just to move through those little bit of apprehensions you have, and to just come out just saying, hey, I have a digital presence, this is what I do on a weekly basis, and where do we go from here?
Thank you so much, Annie. That was so simply put, and basically Annie has been encouraging me, because I just about had started Instagram. I didn't understand so much, so she's just encouraged me to keep posting, and you encourage me, my audience. You're also wonderful. You have helped me so much. So I thank you as well, and thank you, Annie. And I'll come back with more questions, so we can maybe do some more videos. Yeah, and do write your comments
thank
and
you
questions
so much
below. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.